Hi guys, Tom Barton from TomBartonSports.com here. We are continuing our series of going over each conference in America, college basketball preview. That's what we're doing. And guys, if you like the videos, subscribe, press the little like button. Tell your friends I could use it all. Share, do it all. Do all the stuff that they tell you to do. We're going over it all. If you haven't watched, I have an Ivy League preview and an ACC preview up as well. So you guys, after you watch this video, go and check that out if you'd like to. I got my Walter Payton America jersey on for my Big Ten preview here today. Hope you guys are all enjoying the cold weather. I can't even say that. I like the warm weather. I'm a guy that loves the warm weather, but I live in the cold weather. All right, let's go to the Big Ten. And this is an interesting conference because you can make an argument now, and I said this during my ACC preview, that the ACC is always the best conference in America, or it's up there. I think that the Big Ten has a real good argument for being the best conference in America, at least this year, and maybe they did last year as well. We'll start it off at the top. Michigan, I know you guys are a little disappointed about your football team, but the basketball team going to be right there again. 19-9 against the spread last year, by the way. One of the best in the country, so you made money on them if you were a Michigan fan. Look, Dickinson is great. Hunter Dickinson's coming back after he had All-American, All-Big Ten Freshman of the Year honors. He had it all, 7'1", 255. The guy is a beast. And you look at what he can do. He can completely take over games. He can sit back and he can take over games by himself. Now, you look at Juwan Howard, number one recruiting class according to Sports Illustrated. You add the top-rated transfer. It's talent on talent on talent in Michigan. You look at what Dickinson can do with Jones and Eli Brooks. This team is just massively talented. I think the question that a lot of people have with them is, were people overlooking them last year? Now, do you have a bullseye on their back? And I think that the answer is yes. So how do they respond to expectations? Like I said, they were 19-9 against the spread. I told you guys that because, well, that means that they were underrated by the public. They're underrated by the lines makers out there. And now this year, you expect a little bit different after a successful season. I think Michigan has all the components to not only win this Big Ten, but all the components to have a deep run. Where I made a mention in my ACC discussion where Duke can be in the conversation for the ACC and the championship, I don't have them as a Final Four lock, and I don't have them as a team that could cut down the nets. Michigan can be that team to cut down the net. Michigan is a team that in my early rankings, I'm looking at and I'm going, I'm having a hard time keeping them out of the top four, out of the Final Four. To me, they're almost a guarantee Sweet 16 team, an Elite 8 team for sure. And now you're talking about how far this team will go, and their talent is fantastic. Let's talk about Purdue, because I think Purdue is another team that is going to be a hard team to kind of find negatives with. Look, they are a freshman-laden team. I got that. Well, they were, and there was no offseason, no preseason. They still looked very good, okay? And that's something you pay attention to. Every single piece that matters, no offense, guys, but every key piece, they're coming back, okay? So expectations for Purdue are high, but I understand. Look, Duke, Kentucky, UNC, I made mention to this during my other video. They all struggled because with COVID, there was no offseason, there was no preseason. Purdue should have been in the same spot, but they didn't. They didn't struggle. And now you have those guys returning. This is, the expectations are high for a reason, right? Jaden Ivey might be the best player in the sport. I mean, he really might be. He's going to be the breakout candidate on everyone's list, and he's got scoring ability. He's got the prowess to make his own shot. He can beat guys one-on-one off the ball. There's not a defender in the league that I think that can handle him one-on-one. Averaging just 14 points per game over the last 7 games, but, he had 19 against the Buckeyes in the Big Ten tournament, 26 at North Texas. I know it's still North Texas, but still, I think that 14 points per game over the last 7 could turn into 17, 18, 19. He's that good. This is a team that returns all 8 of their top scorers. That's pretty important. So you're getting perhaps the breakout guy, the guy that's going to take it to the next level. You have a team that dealt with adversity last year and were able to succeed with that adversity, all coming back, and their top 8 scorers are coming back. I am very high on Purdue, just like I said with Michigan. And why I didn't say Michigan's winning the Big Ten, because I think Purdue can do it. I think Purdue can not only win in the Big Ten, we could be sitting there and talking about Michigan and Purdue in the Final Four. That's how high I am with Purdue. Illinois, nobody counted on last year, 63% against the spread, which is one of the best in the country as well. They really did well, and people weren't paying attention to them. You look at Coburn and what he did. He took his name out of the draft. Then he was on the transfer portal. Now he's back. What is his mindset? Is he happy he's back? Is he, I should have been in the NBA? Is he king? I don't know the young man's mindset. I don't know why he wanted out of town kind of so much. But look, let's just assume that he's coming back. Let's assume that this team has a better bench than last year. And yes, those two assumptions are pretty good. It's the assumption of how is his mindset. I'm going to assume that he's good for this video, okay? That he's all right and he's in a good mindset, but don't be surprised if he's not happy there. Look, Io is gone, and that's a big loss no matter what, but they could still be very good. They have transfers. They have a deep bench. It's all on his mentality, and if his mentality is there, that, okay, I came back to win a championship. I came back to win the Big Ten. I came back to cut down the nets at the end. Illinois could be very dangerous. Let's go to Ohio State. I see a lot of fluctuation with people talking about Ohio State. I've seen them as high as 2 and as low as 8. I think they're right in the middle. I think they're 4th, 5th, 6th best team in this conference. Look, the new point guards are the question in the backcourt. You can't give me 2 new point guards in a backcourt and not have questions, right? They're 4th in adjusted offense, 82nd in adjusted defense. So their numbers are there. I look at this team and I go, I'm not putting too much on the Oral Roberts upset. By the way, I love Oral Roberts, made me so much money. But I'm not putting too much on the credence of what they did. I'm just looking at Ohio State as a whole, and I'm saying I think that they are middle of the pack in a very good Big Ten. You put them in a different conference, maybe I'd be talking about them. Even in the ACC, I think Ohio State would be a top 4 team. I think they missed the top 4 here, and they're kind of in that middle of the pack. Indiana, Jackson Davis is an All-American candidate, right? The Hoosiers really can do something impressive this year. But again, I see them more middle of the pack just because it's a stacked Big Ten. I expect big things, but it is year 1 with the new coach. And, you have year 1, you have to not expect that those amazing strides. They'll have strides, but not amazing strides. And amazing strides would be finishing 1-2 against Michigan and Purdue. I don't see it happening. Could they get up to 3? Sure. I have them more in that 4-5 range, which if you talk to an Indiana fan might be disappointing because their expectations are very high. Keep your expectations where they should be. Finishing 4th or 5th in this conference is not a bad thing. Let's talk about Maryland. Look, the core 4 are their back, and I hate to use that because it's a Yankee term, and no one's going to be the real core 4. But it's the truth. Look, they're back. They're going to be solid again. They had excellent coaching last year. You can't discount how good their coaching was. In Maryland, for much of the year last year, they took people by surprise. I expect it to be a little bit under the radar again early here. I think early on in the season, people are going to discount Maryland. Early on in the season, you're going to start to see them go, okay, you know what? I'm not paying attention to Maryland. They got 6, 7, 8 wins. All of a sudden, I think Maryland's going to come out of the gate really well. They have very little turnover, which helps them this year. And you look at a Maryland team that you go, if they could rack up wins early, even if they struggle late, they'll get into the tournament and maybe do some things in the tournament, win a game or 2. I think that's Maryland's kind of ceiling. Michigan State. Look, every Michigan State fan that I talk to is going, well, Izzo can't do it twice, right? He can't just have 2 bad years in a row. But I go, but why? Right? Like, tell me why Michigan State is going to be back to the echelon. I can tell you right now, they're not one of the top 2 or 3 teams in this conference. They're just not. So are they more middle of the pack 4-5, or are they 8, 9, 10? I think Michigan State is 8, 9, 10, guys. Look, they have good players. Nobody stands out, though. They do good things offensively. Not one thing stands out. They do good things defensively. Not one thing stands out. So you're looking at this team, you're hoping that Walker gives them some consistency, but they haven't had the consistency last year. They don't have anything that stands out. This is not that I'm sitting back and bashing Michigan State and bashing Tom Izzo, who could certainly do some things. I just think that if you're looking at this team to kind of get back to the promised land in a stacked Big Ten, your expectations are a little bit high. I think that the Big Ten is very, very good, and they're going to have some problems. Let's talk about Rutgers, a team that I have always liked to play when they're at the rack. Being at the rack, even when Rutgers was terrible, going to the rack and laying points was always horrible. Going to the rack, it was just bad. Now, you have another surprising season, I think, here. They surprised people last year. Nobody paid attention to them. Nobody counted on them. Oh, that was it. They've had some defensive gems. They had some tournament wins. Baker's back. Ron Harper Jr. is back. He's the leading scorer. So a lot of what people were surprised about last year are back. Why are we going to be surprised again? Well, because the name is Rutgers. I just talked about teams like Michigan State and Ohio State. I think Rutgers can be better than both of them. I think that Rutgers could be a top 5 team, maybe a top 4 team in this conference. That's how high I am on Rutgers. By the way, back in last tournament, I was in Atlantic City when I was trying to bet Rutgers, and I had to go to an offshore sitting in Atlantic City. because you can't bet in-state. They just voted that down. I know we just had the election on Tuesday. They voted it down, so you still can't bet on Rutgers in the Garden State. Sorry, just my own personal anger there. All right, let's go to Wisconsin, right? 4 of the 5 teams' best scorers are gone. A freshman point guard, you hope that he can, kind of step up. And Chucky Hepburn has big time things in front of him. I just don't know if he could do it in year one. And Wisconsin is a place like, okay, the Kohl Center's tough to play at. Wisconsin plays that weird defense at times, which could frustrate you and just get under your skin. But overall, you can't expect that this team, led by a freshman, losing 4 of their top 5 scorers, to be anything more than bottom middle of the pack. When I say bottom middle of the pack, 7, 8, 9, and probably closer to the 10th best team in this conference. Talk about a team taking a giant tumble. Let's talk about Iowa. Well, look, when you lose Luka Garza, what are you going to do? I mean, the guy was one of the best, if not the best, college basketball player I've ever seen. And then you add with him, Frederick is gone, Weiskamp is gone, and the offense set marks which were unbelievable. Anybody that's a bettor out there, over every time that Iowa took the floor, and they're scoring like 90. I mean, that's how it felt out there. You lose these guys, you're going to take a major step back, not only in the scoring production that's on the field, on the court, but also in the locker room, also the energy, just everything about it when you lose a superstar. And let's not discount what Garza was. He was maybe the best college basketball player I've ever witnessed, okay? You lose a guy like that, it resonates across everything. So, you look at Murray, who's up front, maybe an NBA prospect, not on the level of these guys, though. And now you go, wait a minute, McCaffrey's defense has always been a problem. But it was actually be able to be masked a little bit because of the ridiculous offense. They can't replicate this offense. You just can't. I expect inflated totals. I expect people to think that Iowa's going to be right back there, and they're just not. Look, I have this team, bottom third of this conference. It's a tough conference, and I think people, are not giving enough credit to not only losing Garza, but losing 3 of those guys. Let's talk about Northwestern. Northwestern's always that sneaky team, They return the top 7 scorers from last year, so they'll be back to be right there. But, the guard play is interesting because if they're able to get the guard play where Northwestern thinks, this could be a top 5 team in this conference. If that guard play falters even a little bit, right? I know they're returning a bunch of guys, but even if that guard play falters a little bit, you're looking at, because the Big Ten is so stacked, you're going from a top 5 team to a bottom 5 team. Let's talk about Penn State. Look, new coach, not a lot to talk about here. 6 of the top 7 players will be on their 4th season, so it is an experienced group of kids. Even if they might not live up to their expectations, it's an experienced group that he could work with, but it is a new coach. If there was a stable coach and you have the experience, I'd feel good. But new coach, experienced kids, they may bump heads, especially early in the season. Let's talk about Nebraska. Nebraska last year was supposed to change things over. Actually, 2 years ago, it was supposed to change things over. And a new system, and it was supposed to be run and gun. And now this year, it's the same kind of thing. All of a sudden, we're hearing it's going to be an offensive juggernaut. Nebraska's never offensive, we know. But it didn't happen last year. I don't know if it's going to happen again this year. They have a lot of talent on this team. They have a 5-star recruit. So the pieces are in place for Nebraska to surprise. What I would do is I would look early in the season and watch for the scoring. If the scoring and the tempo is there, especially the tempo, if the scoring and the tempo is there, well, Nebraska could surprise some people. But it wasn't there last year. I can't expect it to magically turn around. Finally, Minnesota, what is there to say about him? After they fired Pitino, they got Ben Johnson. He was in a complete rebuild. I don't know what to make of them. I don't want to just dog on Minnesota here, but they may not win a game in conference. They really might not. This is a loaded conference. They're clearly at the bottom. I don't know if they win a game in conference. All right, guys. So, that is the Big Ten this year. I think there's some avenues I gave you guys to pay attention to. To me, this team could have 2 teams in the Final Four. I think Michigan is for real. I think Purdue is absolutely for real. There are a couple other teams that I think are right there battling for that number 3. I think Rutgers is a big surprise. But I do think that it's Michigan, Purdue, and kind of everyone else. Who do I like out of Michigan and Purdue? I don't really know. I see the talent with Michigan, and it's overwhelming how much talent that team has. But man, what Purdue did last year and what Purdue has the ability to do this year has me looking at them. I almost want to take Purdue, but my head is telling me to take Michigan. So make of that what you want for that. Can I just say both of them are going to be in the Final Four and make everybody happy? Can I do that? Well, everybody except maybe Green Bay fans because I got my Bears jersey on. All right. Everybody, if you like the video, like, subscribe, do it all. Tell your friends, please. I could use the likes and subscribes. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Continue on, because I have all the other conferences. They'll be coming out in the next couple of days. Thank you very much. And go check out TomBartonSports.com, guys. Again, that's TomBartonSports.com.